Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Girls Who Cried Wolf. I'm Laura.
I'm Summer.
We are Sad Girls. Today, our episode is about one of my favorite writers, who is Mr. George Orwell, and the politics of language. And Summer's got a lovely paragraph, a lovely little intro for us.
Should we just get straight in?
Yes,
Anything
or do you
new?
have? Um, oh yeah, we've done our 2 week hiatus.
Yes.
I was in Ireland and then I was in Bath.
And we're also
Um,
just poorly organised.
and I was also poorly,
Yes.
so it's not really our fault.
And it's the end
Um,
of term and it's big, like, crunch time.
yeah, it's our
So
last
we've
week of term. It's our
sort of
last week
fallen
of
off a little bit.
second
But
year,
that's okay.
but we're back on the bandwagon, as they say.
Yeah.
18th episode.
Episode 18.
Every time we're like, what? Like, we got to episode 18 already? Like, can't believe it. And it's like, yeah, well, that's what happens when you keep doing episodes.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
but yeah, George Orwell today. I'm having a very Orwell week
Yes,
because
you are indeed.
I'm watching a documentary on Orwell tomorrow called 2 plus 2 equals 5. More on that later.
Nice.
Sorry?
Anyone? Sorry. Anyway.
And then we saw his plaque in Notting Hill on Sunday. So we're having an Orwell week. That's what inspired me.
And the Notting Hill house from the film, Hugh Grant's place, which I thought was thoroughly underwhelming.
But that's the case
Saw
for
a
many
nice little blue
things.
door, so
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Anyway,
That's what counts.
George Orwell.
Please begin.
So I wrote a little intro to kind of, lay the groundwork. Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
For this episode. So I'll just jump right in. George Orwell didn't just write famous novels, he fundamentally reshaped societal understanding on how the attainment of power and use of language inter and counteract. In 1984, for instance, he introduced the notion that those in power have the means, through language, to rewrite history in order to control reality. There'll be more on this later, but debates in our time concerning fake news and media manipulation often have Orwellian echoes to them. His essay, The Politics on Language, contends that if we limit language, or what parts of it we use, we limit thought in parallel. Animal Farm looks to how propaganda gradually reshapes beliefs, how it's a stepped process. All of his work continues to inform how we consider political messaging, advertising, and narratives in the age of social media and artificial intelligence.
Thank you very much. Very well written, Summer.
By bringing AI into everything.
Yeah, as you should. As you
I
should.
hate AI. So,
We hate AI.
we do.
Boo, poor. I would like to read an extract from Animal Farm, which is a bit long but worth it. So, gentlemen, concluded Napoleon, I will give you the same toast as before, but in a different form. Fill your glasses to the brim. Gentlemen, here is my toast, to the prosperity of the Manor Farm. There was the same hearty cheering as before, and the mugs were emptied to the dregs. But as the animals outside gazed at the scene, it seemed to them that some strange thing was happening. What was it that had altered in the face of the pigs? Clover's old dim eyes flitted from one face to another. Some of them had 5 chins, some of them had 4, some had 3. But what was it that seemed to be melting and changing? Then, the applause having come to an end, the company took up their cards and continued the game that they had been interrupted, and the animals crept silently away. But they had not gone 20 yards when they stopped short. An uproar of voices was coming from the farmhouse. They rushed back and looked through the window again. Yes, a violent quarrel was in progress. There were shoutings, bangings on the table, sharp suspicious glances, furious denials. The source of the trouble appeared to be that Napoleon and Mr. Pilkington had each played an ace of spades simultaneously. 12 voices were shouting in anger, and they were all alike. No question now what had happened to the faces of the pigs. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, but already it was impossible to say which was which. And that's the conclusion of Animal Farm. One of my favorite quotes. We'll talk about it a bit more later on. But yeah, I really like that pig to man, man to pig situation.
Yeah. And I think that's so relevant in kind of discussions on how Orwell might have shaped the way we thought about like truth, propaganda, freedom, and like continue to.
Definitely.
Who was George Orwell?
Yeah.
Who was he?
This is all information from the Orwell Foundation, by the way.
The Orwell Foundation. How many is their shade range? Good.
What do you mean? Oh, haha, funny. But she's on a roll this week.
She does
tell the Wellingtons.
I would like a pair of wellies with George Orwell's face on them, so that I can call them my Orwellies.
But
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious. I do think that's quite funny.
And question for the people, if you are interested in commenting about something besides George Orwell. Is focaccia bread? Yes or no?
Oh my god, don't even.
I'm not starting.
Summer's
I'm just
pushing
no.
it. Summer's pushing it.
Right,
She
anyway.
knows what I think. What do I think, Summer?
That focaccia isn't bread, which is insane. But
If it was bread, it would be called bread. It's called focaccia.
I'm gonna poll this on my Instagram story.
Okay, well we can poll this on our
Maybe
Instagram story as well.
article about it.
Maybe you will.
Maybe I will.
Maybe you will.
Okay, so George Orwell was born under the birth name of Eric Arthur Blair. He was born on the 25th of June in 1903 in Motihari, Bengal, where his father was working as an opium agent in the Indian Civil Service. He swiftly returned to England and was brought up almost exclusively by his mother. The Thames Valley locales in which the family settled provided the background to his novel Coming Up for Air, which was published in 1939. He won a King's Scholarship to Eton College, arriving at the school in May 1917, leaving the school in December 1921 after only a term in the sixth form. The following June, he passed the entrance examination of the Indian Imperial Police and was accepted into its Burma division. Almost nothing is known of Orwell's time in the province, other than that it offered the material for two of his best-known essays. These were Hanging and Shooting an Elephant, and his first novel, Burmese Days, which was published in 1934. It also ruined his health. Although disillusioned by the imperial racket he had helped to administer, he therefore left Burma in June 1927 on a medical certificate. For the next 5 years, he led a vagrant life. Some of this time was spent at his parents' home in Southwold, Suffolk, near my aunt. There were periods teaching in private schools, living in Paris, and masquerading as a tramp. The background to his first published work, Down and Out in Paris and London, which was published in 1933.
His teaching career was brought to a close by a bout of pneumonia, and at the end of 1934, having used a long recuperative stay in Southwold, Southwold, to complete a second novel, A Clergyman's Daughter, which was released in 1935, he decamped to London to work in a Hampstead bookshop. Here he met and married his first wife, Eileen, and wrote a third novel, partly based on his book trade experiences, Keep the Asperdista Flying, in 1936. The defining political experience of his life was the 6 months he spent in Spain in 1937 as a Republican volunteer against Franco. He was wounded in the throat, the bullet passing within a few millimeters of his carotid artery, and was present in Barcelona when Soviet-sponsored hit squads attempted to suppress the Trotskyist militia, of which he had been a member. Spain made Orwell believe in socialism for the first time, as he put it, while instilling an enduring hatred of totalitarian political systems. Homage to Catalonia, an account of his time in Spain, was published in April 1938, and initially Orwell had high hopes for World War II, which he believed would instill a sense of socialist purpose. This view was developed in his pamphlet essay, The Lion and the Unicorn, Socialism and the English Genius, in 1941. Animal Farm, his bitter satire of the Soviet experiment, was written by the middle of 1944, and much of the last half-decade of his life was spent in the Inner Hebrides, struggling against worsening health to complete his final novel, 1984.
Where do you think the Hebrides are?
In Scotland?
Yeah.
Are they? Oh, perf.
Yeah. I know that because of work. We had Hebridean lamb.
Oh.
For a while.
I thought you had no lamb at your work.
Not anymore. Seasonal menu.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's context to this. After finishing a final draft at the end of 1948, he suffered a complete physical collapse and was taken away to a nursing home in the Cotswolds, suffering from advanced tuberculosis. He died in London on the 21st of January 1950, aged 46.
Quite young.
That's very young. He looks a lot older, though.
Yeah.
In all the pictures and videos and such.
Life.
Long, hard life, yeah.
So, what were Orwell's political and personal beliefs? Well, as I would imagine would be pretty obvious, he was a committed democratic socialist and anti-totalitarian who advocated quite heavily for social justice, freedom of speech, and common decency. He opposed both fascism and Stalinism, believing in a classless society, yet strongly criticised state-controlled authoritarianism. His views were shaped by his experiences in the Spanish Civil War and the British police force in Burma, and he was not aligned with any political party as such, often finding himself at odds with the British left due to his harsh criticism of the Soviet Union.
So let's break down his core political beliefs. These are important to understand what we're going to be talking about with language. So, democratic socialism. So, Orwell was an independent labor supporter who believed in democratic socialism, aiming to eliminate the inequalities of capitalism without resorting to authoritarian control. Anti-totalitarianism. His work, particularly Animal Farm in 1984, served as a direct attack on totalitarian regimes, especially the Soviet Union, which he believed betrayed the ideas of socialism. Common decency was one of his political views, and they were deeply rooted in common decency, focusing on freedom, equality, and humanity rather than rigid ideology. Opposition to imperialism. Based on his experience in the Burmese police force, Orwell opposed colonialism, having seen its and his own destructive potential. Patriotism and freedom. He viewed himself as a patriot, defending liberty and free speech against both the political right and left. And the key influences to his political beliefs were the Spanish Civil War from 1936 to 37, and this experience. Summer did something. What did you do, Summer?
1936 to 7. 6, 7.
6, 7? Summer. Bad. Why am I smiling? This experience solidified his hatred of authoritarianism and his desire to fight for a democratic socialism. And the British class system. His upbringing and observations in Britain made him a critic of social injustice.
Bad, Summer. Sorry.
It's okay.
Animal Farm, 1945. Overview. Let's go. Sorry.
No, let's go.
Animal Farm is a short political allegory set on a farm where animals overthrow their human owner, hoping to create a society based on equality and fairness. What begins as a hopeful revolution gradually turns into a dictatorship, mirroring real-world political events, especially the Russian Revolution and the rise of Stalinism. So some key themes of this work is the idea that power corrupts, so leaders can become the very oppressors that they replaced. Propaganda and manipulation, language is used to control truth. Class inequality, so even in equal societies, hierarchies can and do emerge. And a betrayal of ideals, so revolutions can very often lose their original purpose. Some key quotes from Animal Farm that Lara's very nicely laid out are, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
This one eats. Sorry.
I think that's, so relevant in so many ways.
Basically, what happens is, if you haven't read it, they have all the rules on the barn. So the pigs who are in charge, Napoleon that I was talking about earlier is a pig. And the pigs write the rules because they're the only ones who can read and write on the side of the barn. So the first rule is that all animals are equal, and then by the end of the novel, or novella I should say, they add but some animals are more equal than others, and it's just showing how they're trying to change these small things and how the pigs are kind of taking over, and the animals just realize it because only one of them can read or something. If I'm not wrong, I think it's the donkey. But yeah, it takes them a while to realize it, and then they kind of understand that it's very important for language and blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely. Another quote is, the creatures outside looked from pig to man and from man to pig, but already it was impossible to say which was which. Relevant.
Yeah, that was the closing line of Animal Farm, and the idea is just that the pigs have become like the men. So
once you gain a taste of power, you kind of are subservient to it.
Exactly.
Napoleon is always right.
Napoleon is the head pig.
Yeah, this is not French Revolution Napoleon.
No.
E.T. Dubs.
Napoleon, and one of them is called Snowball as well. I quite like Snowball as a name.
That's cute.
Well, it's an evil pig. Snowball is very evil.
Well, my little sister just got a hamster and named it Derek. So.
But that's very cute.
Yes. Maybe he's evil. We don't know. Another quote is, man is the only creature that consumes without producing.
I just think that's very interesting.
Yeah. I feel like there are lots of ways in which to look at that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're quite good at producing stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than just consuming. I mean, we have a podcast, so that's our contribution to society.
But are we not producing that through our consumption of literature and social ideas?
And what's the next quote?
I don't know. Final quote we have is, the past was erased, the erasure was forgotten, and then the lie became the truth.
which I think
Wow.
speaks for itself.
And yeah, that'll become very relevant when we talk about the politics of the English language.
Yes,
A later essay.
definitely.
Cool. Do you want to talk about 1984?
Yes. So 1980, just quickly on Animal Farm, actually one of my favorite books of all time. Like, if you haven't read it, you should read it. Like, I read it on a plane ride. Like, it doesn't take you long, but it is a really beautiful book, and I really enjoy it. So 1984 was published in 1949. It is a dystopian novel about a man called Winston Smith, who is a low-ranking party member in Oceania.
Wait, no.
Oceania? Oceania, okay. Because it
Near
looks...
Australia.
Isn't that like a continent?
Well, you've got Australasia and Oceania.
Okay, I've just never pronounced it.
You made me forget how to say it for a sec.
Can you tell that I'm a reader and not a speaker?
Really?
No, but you know how people say...
The first time I ever said nonchalant out loud, I said nonchalant.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell when somebody reads or when someone speaks.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is the Big O is a state under total surveillance by Big Brother. Winston secretly rebels against the oppressive, reality-altering regime, starting a forbidden affair with Julia before being arrested, tortured, and broken into submission by the Thought Police. The setting... Sorry.
I just said lovely.
Oh. I'm going to call it the Big O because I
can say
can't pronounce it. Do you want to say it?
Oceania.
Yes, is a society ruled by the party, which is led by the mysterious figure Big Brother. I always think it's wild how the Big Brother TV show came about.
Yeah.
Like, I love it because it gave us so many amazing moments for Trisha Paytas crying in the confessional.
Yeah.
However, it's kind of crazy that, like, a whole thing about being watched becomes a thing about
100%.
being watched. Like, have you read the book?
Yes.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, the citizens are constantly watched through telescreens. Independent thought is treated as a crime, which is called thought crime. Very on the nose.
Yes.
And history is constantly rewritten to suit the party's needs. So the way that it's done there's 3 continents, and they're always 2 are always at war with each other, and 2 are always in alliance with each other. But they constantly change who's at war with and who's allied with the other. So throughout the novel, it'll be like North America and Europe are fighting, but we're allies with North America. And then 2 chapters later, it's going to be, well, Europe and Oceania are fighting, but we're allies with Europe, North America, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so it is really crazy because you start to doubt yourself as it's going on. So yeah, key concepts. So Big Brother is the leader of the party, but he's more of a concept rather than a person. And this kind of idea of Big Brother's always watching you. Newspeak. So Newspeak is a controlled, simplified language designed by the totalitarian party to diminish the range of human thought. So it's kind of very dumbed down language, kind of like the language we use today. Crazy. What did you call... What did you call Summer said to me, she's like, I'm gonna go get a Ready Bee, and then I'll meet you upstairs. And I was like, right, and I didn't even question it.
Yeah, she didn't. She knew
I knew what a Ready Bee was.
Got my Ready Bee.
Yeah, she's Ready Bee. So, anyways, doublethink is the final concept, and doublethink is a process of indoctrination in which subjects are expected to simultaneously accept 2 conflicting beliefs as truth, often at odds with their own memory or sense of reality. So what I mentioned about the wars, and then also the 2 + 2 = 5 situation. Which, yeah, if you've read the book, I don't really want to get into that too much. But yeah, key themes of the book are the control of truth, language is power, and surveillance and fear. Some key quotes are Big Brother's watching you, arguably the most famous quote. Then war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, which is the party slogan.
Wild.
Yeah, crazy. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Very interesting. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. Really interesting. I really like that line. And then the final line is he loved Big Brother, which is Winston's defeat when he's tortured by the party. And yeah, this really connects to a lot of modern issues such as surveillance, over-surveillance, misinformation, AI, and the dumbing down of language. And this is very much a big warning from Orwell about the control through language and surveillance.
Yeah. Well, the party slogan quote that you talked about, like, immediately upon hearing it is very, very striking, but, like, that's not crazy different to our political climate today.
Yeah.
Like, with, obviously, the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, there was a article that I read about Trump, and his kind of statement was, the gist of it, I'm paraphrasing, was that we will continue fighting until there's peace. And I'm like, fighting isn't really the way.
Yeah.
But
what do we know? We're just two girls with a podcast.
But that's the phrase "war is peace," just kind of made more palatable.
Yeah. I think what I love about Orwell is just how ahead he always is.
Yeah, and also, like, if you consider, like, freedom as slavery, like, a lot of the time nowadays we would consider freedom and financial freedom to be one and the same thing.
Yeah.
But then if you achieve financial freedom, that's through being a slave to capitalism and supporting a system that is inherently trapping you to achieve freedom, which makes no sense. But there we go.
Pop off summer.
Anyway,
you've been schooled.
Yeah, consider yourselves schooled. Okay, so politics of language. So Orwell in 1946 wrote an essay called Politics in the English Language that criticised the ugly and inaccurate written English of his time and examined the connection between political orthodoxies and the debasement of language. He famously asserts that political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give an appearance of solidity to pure wind. Such a good phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And he believed that language used by political entities for public consumption was necessarily vague and meaningless, as it intended to hide the truth as opposed to expressing it outwardly. This method of writing, in Orwell's eye, then spread to those who did not intend to hide the truth, but did so subconsciously. So just more like general writers, journalists, fiction writers, anyone and everyone. Concealing a writer's thoughts from themselves and others. To this end, he encourages concreteness and clarity in writing. And then we have a quote from the Orwell Foundation that Laura's going to nicely read for us.
Most people who bother with the matter at all would admit that the English language is in a bad way, but it is generally assumed that we cannot by conscious action do anything about it. Our civilization is decadent, and our language, so the argument runs, must inevitably share in the general collapse. It follows that any struggle against the abuse of language is a sentimental archaism, like preferring candles to electric light or hansom cabs to aeroplanes. Underneath this lies the half-conscious belief that language is a natural growth and not an instrument which we shape for our own purpose. Quote.
Yeah.
The Orwell Foundation continues, saying, "Now it is clear that the decline of a language must ultimately have political and economic causes. It is not due simply to the bad influence of this or that individual writer, but in effect can become a cause, reinforcing the original cause and producing the same effect in an intensified form, and so on indefinitely. A man may take to the drink because he feels himself to be a failure, and then fail all the more completely because he drinks. It is rather the same thing that is happening to the English language. It becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish, but the slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts. The point is that the process is reversible. Modern English, especially written English, is full of bad habits, which spread by imitation, and which can be avoided if one is willing to take the necessary trouble. If one gets rid of these habits, one can think more clearly, and to think clearly is a necessary first step towards political regeneration, so that the fight against bad English is not frivolous and is not the exclusive concern of professional writers. I will come back to this presently, and I hope that by the time the meaning of what I have said here will have become clearer. Meanwhile, here are 5 specimens. Oh, sorry. But yeah, that's really true. It is a paradox, kind of like doublespeak.
Yeah, exactly.
Or doublethink. But yeah, it is really an interesting point that he makes, because the dumber we get, the dumber we become.
Yeah. And I think that's especially true to, like, digital consumption and, like, Instagram Reels, of which I am a frequent victim.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel stupider when I've been on Reels for too long. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I've got to read some good literature.
Yeah. Would you like to...
Yeah, in terms of, like, the current relevance of this essay, because obviously it was written in 1946, but I think it remains applicable. Orwell says, in our time, political speech and writing are largely the defence of the indefensible. Things like the continuance of British rule in India, the Russian purges and deportations, the dropping of the atom bombs on Japan, can indeed be defended, but only by arguments which are too brutal for most people to face, and which do not square with the professed aims of political parties. Thus, political language has to consist largely of euphemism, question-begging, and sheer, cloudy vagueness. Defenceless villages are bombarded from the air, the inhabitants driven out into the countryside, the cattle machine gun, the huts set on fire with incendiary bullets. This is called pacification. Millions of peasants are robbed of their farms and sent trudging along the roads with no more than they can carry. This is called transfer of population or rectification of frontiers. People are imprisoned for years without trial, or shot in the back or the neck, or sent to die of scurvy in the Arctic lumber camps. This is called elimination of unreliable elements. Such phraseology is needed if one wants to name things without calling up mental pictures of them.
Quote.
I think that's so relevant to like even the framing of how a lot of news articles are written nowadays. And I think it's very much second nature to attach a certain political affiliation to a certain news source because we're so used to seeing biases in the information that we are supposed to receive objectively.
Yeah, and there is a really big difference in language. You know, if somebody is saying, well, Summer's gonna talk about this now, which is a very interesting study. But it changes the message when you say killed or murdered or died, and when you say was attacked or instead of attacker, it definitely changes a lot of the message. And you can, it's just, what's crazy to me is how you see, especially about the conflict in the Middle East, it's always the like Western side was always murdered and the Middle Eastern side have always died.
Yeah, like just the biases in the titles of so many articles. Like you'll have something like, you know, woman killed by man for walking in the park alone at night.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, a man killed a woman.
Yeah.
Like it's the woman's framed as
centrally
being partially at fault.
Yeah.
In some way, in some like subconscious way.
Yeah.
But maybe sometimes it's not so subconscious.
Yeah.
To this end, there was a psychological study, which I was in the middle of making notes for this episode, and I just like randomly called it up from like the depths of my brain because I studied this like 4 years ago in A level. But yeah, it was a study by Loftus and Palmer in 1974, and it was on the effects of synonyms and verbs on the memory of car accidents. So the purpose of this study was to investigate how information provided after an event, so post-event information, can alter memories. And they did this in 2 segments. So in experiment 1, participants watched videos of car accidents and were asked about how fast the cars were going when they blank verbed each other. So for different participants, they used a variety of words, such as smashed, collided, bumped, hit, and contacted. And they found that the verb used directly affected speed estimates. Participants asked with the word smashed gave much higher speed estimates at an average of 40.5 miles an hour than those asked with contacted, which averaged 31.8 miles per hour, which I think is really interesting. But yeah. And then they
definitely
followed this up with what they called the broken glass study. So a week after seeing these videos, participants asked with the word smashed were more likely to falsely remember seeing broken glass compared to those who were asked with hit, illustrating how false memories can be created by language. Very relevant to George Orwell.
Very relevant.
But yeah, this study was a cornerstone in cognitive psychology and really like demonstrated the misinformation effect and the reconstructive nature of memory. I think it's incredibly relevant to Orwellian notions on language and the means by which it can be manipulated for power or political gain.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's such an interesting study.
Yeah.
And it definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, that's just me like backing up my opinions.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we are able to find a study that kind of reflects what we're trying to explain, because I feel like with language concepts and stuff, it's sometimes really hard to back it in a sense.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for finding that and explaining that to us.
And I think it's all like, very well and good to read like a piece of polemic writing, but if you don't have, like actual scientific evidence to back it up, you can be like, oh, well, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. To quickly touch on Orwell's legacy, this is from the Mises Institute. So, George Orwell's legacy is defined by his fierce defense of truth, democratic socialism, and warnings against totalitarianism, leaving an indelible mark on literature and politics. His concepts of Orwellian control, Big Brother, and Newspeak remain vital in discussing surveillance and propaganda, while masterpieces like 1984 and Animal Farm endure as crucial warnings. Key elements of his legacy: the literary and cultural impact. 1984 and Animal Farm are widely studied, adapted, and consistently relevant, often surging in popularity during times of political tension. Must say the Animal Farm cartoon is very good if you're looking to watch something this evening. Orwellian language. He introduced enduring terms to describe authoritarian surveillance and state control, such as Big Brother, Thought Police, Doublethink, and a memory hole. Political integrity. Despite being a committed socialist, Orwell was a fierce critic of Stalinism and totalitarianism, placing him in a unique position of criticizing tyranny from any side. Defending truth. His work emphasizes the importance of objective truth and honest writing, arguing that telling the truth in an age of deception is a revolutionary act. And then his educational legacy. Organizations like the Orwell Foundation perpetuate his work through education, and resources like UCL's Orwell collection make his archives accessible. Orwell's focus on surveillance and the manipulation of language remains highly pertinent today, with his concepts used to analyze fake news and social media propaganda. His work serves as a lasting reminder of the fragility of individual freedom in the face of oppressive, all-powerful institutions. So yeah, that's kind of it from us. Looking at some closing reflections. I mean, from my point of view, I don't think there should be a discussion on whether he's right or wrong. I think he's just right, and the question is whether we want to listen to him or not. It's inevitable. It's like you can't say that what happens in his books isn't happening now or hasn't happened.
Yeah, like it's eerie.
Yeah.
They were written,
60 years ago, 70 years ago. Yeah. And yet. They're still incredibly relevant, and I think with the rise of anti-intellectualism, which is an episode we've already done, so you should go listen to that if you haven't already, the use of language becomes even more important.
Yeah. Now I've just got some general little food for thought questions, so I think we're sort of going to speed through these.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have pretty obvious answers, and we kind of want them to serve as general reminders to hold when you're consuming political content. More than anything else. So are we using language to clarify reality or to obscure it? And when governments or institutions speak, are their words concrete and verifiable or full of abstractions and euphemisms?
What do you think?
Well, yes, I think. Yes.
Well, yes. No, sorry. I thought you were just asking the questions. I didn't think I had to answer them.
Well, you read more, answer them, whatever you want to do.
How often do we accept repeated phrases without questioning their meaning? Pretty often.
Yeah.
Do you want to do one each?
The Rock. Town Crier Rock.
Yeah.
They still call it the Rock. It's not the Rock anymore.
No, it was also a wall. It wasn't a rock. But we're not going to get into that because we get upset.
Anyway.
I get upset.
Are certain words being redefined to shift public opinion? Are we critically evaluating the language that we consume and share? Do headlines accurately represent reality or distort it for attention? Are we becoming desensitized to constant surveillance or monitoring?
I think that one for sure. And I think what's really weird
is
things like when you go to Primark and you have to use the thing to barcode to scan out.
Yeah.
That's a really weird thing to do.
Yeah. And now it's just widely accepted that CCTV is everywhere.
Yeah. Or the face recognizing things in the street.
Yeah.
Those are really odd.
Yeah. We all kind of just push that to the back of our minds.
Yeah, we try not to think about it.
Which isn't great.
No.
Don't do that. So are our leaders truly serving the people or gradually reshaping the rules to benefit themselves?
Are we thinking independently or absorbing what we're told? Is language helping us see reality or replacing it? How much power are we willing to give up for comfort, order, or ideology? I think we're willing to give up way too much power for comfort. And final question?
Most importantly, are we noticing when small changes add up to something dangerous?
I think we are not.
I think not.
I think not.
Cheery episode, that.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's cheery for me because I love Orwell, and I'm very happy that we got to do it.
I love Orwell. I hate the world.
If you're ever bored and you need 5 minutes and you have been on TikTok too long, read his essays. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Books versus Cigarettes is one of my favorite books ever. And that's also an amazing essay that you should definitely listen to if you're so inclined. But yes.
Yeah, I think that's it from us for today.
Yeah, that's it from us. Please leave us a review and a comment. We really, really appreciate it, and it helps us so much. If you'd like to message us on Instagram, it's Girls Who Cried Wolf Pod, and you can also, just let us know what you think. We always post little bits of things, so keep an eye out on there. And yeah, if you'd like to send us an email, it's girlswhocriedwolf@gmail.com. We love answering all your questions and taking your suggestions. And once again, we really appreciate every single one of you listening.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.